I'm Paul Danczyk. I'm interviewing A.G. Block with Richard Hill, and A.G. is the Associate Director for the University of California Center in Sacramento. So thanks for joining us today.
Glad to do it.
What we're trying to do is get a sense of public administration and think about the impacts that we're making in the field and using you as a case study of thinking about it.
The job here really involves the university's mission and helping to facilitate that mission in Sacramento. The University of California sits on a three-legged stool. We have education, teaching, research, and public service. And the center, my job is to help facilitate all of those endeavors on behalf of the university. Teaching is obvious. We have students here year-round. They come for a quarter and study public policy or journalism and hold internships in the Capital community. Public service for us is enmeshed with the university's research capability. We don't do original research here at the center. That goes on the university's 10 campuses, labs, and professional schools. So that piece of the three-legged stool is different for us than it would be for UCLA or Berkeley or one of the campuses. It involves making that research in the system available to the policy community here to help the policy community meet challenges that the state faces as they create legislation, implement legislation, do whatever people in the policy community do. And in that regard, the university has a vast array of research that we try to make available. So we're one of the gatekeepers, not the only gatekeeper, but we're one of the portals for the policy community to access that research. And that's, again, one of the things I do is I have work with our state government relations, work with people on the campuses to try and find research when we get requests from the legislature or from the bureaucracy, from the administration on water policy, education policy, the vast array. And in terms of the teaching component, I'm sort of student affairs. I'm the one who helps students arrange for their internships. I don't do teaching, but we work with faculty at campus at Davis who does the teaching and the policy program. I do some, like yesterday I was over on campus doing a talk in a class on media and politics. So my expertise, my background is a journalist, and so I bring that to the center and bring that to some teaching here at the center, but mostly I'm involved in student affairs and running the center itself.
Professional life?
Well, it wasn't a shift in career that was voluntary. The magazine I worked for went under, and when I started here in Sacramento working for what was at the time a nonprofit magazine, California Journal. I was the managing editor and was with the journal through various incarnations. It was nonprofit when I started, became for-profit, and toward the end was nonprofit again. It was a monthly public affairs magazine. It reported on California government and politics. It had been around since 1970. Very well respected in the state, throughout the state for its public affairs coverage, its nonpartisan coverage. And at the end, when the magazine suspended publication, my transition was facilitated by the fact that we were involved in a project to create the California Political Almanac. And that project was a collaborative between the California Journal and the Institute of Governmental Affairs at UC Berkeley. And so when the journal suspended publication, IGS at Berkeley decided to continue with the project, and I continued with it, I needed a place to work. And so this center had just opened, and the folks at Berkeley said, well, why don't you go talk to the folks at UC Center and see if they can give you some office space. Yeah. And they did, and that transitioned me, that brought me here physically, and over the course of the first few months they started to send students to me to talk about what I knew about California politics and government, and we also started to have conversations involving the journalism program and adding a journalism component to the offerings that the center's offerings to students. And I was able to raise some money to kickstart that program, and the university eventually took it over. So that brought me here, and so the transition was sort of seamless. I was working on a project in a career that I had, and I started a program that mirrored the career I had, and it gradually grew into something a little more elaborate. It does. You'll be shocked to learn that the University of California is not. How can I put this? It's a confederation, so that each campus has its own policies and procedures, and sometimes it's difficult to navigate around the whole system.
Yes.
But there are now things being implemented, technologies being implemented that the university subscribes to, that allow you to put in a keyword, water storage, and it will pop up a whole variety of folks who have work in that area, in that field, not just at the University of California, but throughout the world. And so it becomes much easier to identify who's doing what on which campus. And so technology has made that search much easier over the past, actually just the past year. I've always said I went into journalism because I had no other skills or abilities, and that there's a grain of truth in that. It's a hard question to answer about why you're passionate about various things, but I really believe in public service, and it's one of the reasons that I felt so strongly about this center and about some of the problems that we faced, the challenges that we faced here a few years ago when the university was deciding whether to keep this program going or not. And I feel very strongly about the sense of community, that we're all part of a community, and that community is strong when people invest in it. And some more than others, but I've always believed that the greatest thing you can do with your life to make it give it meaning is to give back to your community and to work on behalf of everyone in the community. And I think this center does that. I think journalism does that. Public affairs journalism does that. It's this conversation on campus yesterday in this class on media and politics about this system of government, the way we govern ourselves doesn't work very well if people aren't well informed. And I believe public affairs journalism has always been the foundation of that information network. People need that information to make good decisions about how they want to be governed. And that's what has kept me in this business since I came to Sacramento in 1980, and was a reporter in Idaho before that. So it's what I have a passion for the journalism piece of public service. It's one of the reasons I wanted to help create this program here, the journalism program. and why I feel it's important and sort of essential. You want young people, young, bright, talented people, to think hard about a career in public service. So centers like this that offer undergraduates a chance to test drive it as a career through internships are very important. I don't think there's a better way to serve your community and to have to lead a quality, meaningful life. You can go out and earn millions and millions of dollars doing something, but if it doesn't benefit the whole community, then, you know, for me personally, it's, I don't know how to explain it. If it, and I'm sure glad you're going to edit this.
No, not to worry.
It's, I don't think you can lead a more fulfilled life than a life in public service. And helping, by doing that, you help keep your community healthy, and by keeping your community healthy, regardless of whether that community is the whole of the country, the United Nations, or your neighborhood land park, whatever it is, by giving back something in some way to that community is important, and to make sure that people who don't have your advantages are able to benefit from the health of the community as well. And you do that by giving back in whatever way you give back. You know, for me it was journalism.
Richard, do you have other questions?
We had a couple, and AG went right through them, so we did good.
Great.
Well, I think we're okay.
I forgot to mention that today is April 11th, 2013. But AG, thanks for your time.
Yeah, I'm not sure I answered really your questions.
You did. We weren't going to hold you for an hour, so we just had to we have a lot of, in ASPA, we have a lot of young professionals. So we're always interested in people sharing their thoughts about, hey, why did you do this? And what's my advice for the up-and-comers? So that's the nature of Paul.
Well, it's, you know, it doesn't have to be, and I go through this with my own kids. You know, I have a senior in high school and a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
And one of the components, one of the things they have to do for this program they're in at McClatchy High School is community service. And it's always a struggle. It's well, I got to go do this. How am I going to get my? And they have a website that has, you know, lists of, you know, work for the food bank, or you can do a variety of things, and you try to explain to them, you know, you've lived a very advantaged life. You know, you live a comfortable life. You don't have to worry about whether we're going to get kicked out of our house, or whether there's going to be food on the table. You've had all the advantages. And it's important that you recognize that there are a whole lot of people in this community who don't have these advantages. And there are a lot of ways that you can help provide some balance in their life. You can help them to lead a more comfortable life or a better life. And you kind of owe it to the community to participate in that. So, you know, my son went and my younger son has done a number of things through this community service, and one of them was just going to the library and cleaning books and reshelving books, and he has taught, he's an actor, both my kids are actors, and so they've participated in acting classes where they've been mentors and helped professionals teach these classes. And my older son is involved in some reading mentoring program at a disadvantaged school in Sacramento. And by doing it, you know, they sort of get out of their own little bubble and see how the rest of the world looks, and see how the rest of the world has to live in many cases. And and it helps sort of change their perspective about the world. And hopefully they'll come out of these experiences with their mom and I, kind of drumming at them, and their own participation. They'll come with a better appreciation for what it means to give back to your community. I think it's really important that people do that, and I applaud young people, especially when they come here to the center, because these are self-selected UC upper level undergraduates who at least trying to figure out what's the next step for themselves. And there's enough awareness that they like something about public policy in some way, that they want to either go into politics, or they want to think about jobs here in public service, but they're at least thinking about it, and I always applaud them for doing that, because you can see, especially in this community, look up and down K Street. Look on one side where the Capitol, where you've got some staffers who've been there for 35 years, and they could have gone down this street here and earned 5 times as much money, but they didn't do that. They stayed in the Capitol, and they stayed doing that kind of public service, and well, I have great admiration for them because of the sacrifices they made financially in order to do that, as opposed to coming here and representing an oil company